Okay, here's a familiar story. You get out of the shower, you take a quick look in the mirror, and there it is, a bump starting to form just above your lip. And you just kind of stare at it, you run a finger even so lightly against the unsightly protrusion on your face. You realize it does bother you. It bothers you so much that you feel a reckless urge to just press on it, to poke it, and to prod it, and pop it, and really just squeeze the crap out of it. And the thing is, you know you shouldn't do it, but there is something just perversely compelling about watching yourself pop a zit into oblivion. I mean, there are even YouTube channels right now dedicated to zit popping. But the thing is, despite how much you want to do it, here's why you should never pop that nasty, disgusting pimple on your face. A pimple is a small pop-hue. It is basically an inflamed sac of skin that holds oil and bacteria. It keeps, you know, the gunky stuff contained so it doesn't spread all too easily across your face. But what you actually do when you pop a zit open is puncture the pimple skin, which allows the nasties to splatter and seep into the facial pores. And this will often result in even more pimples. And it doesn't end there. When you prod and poke and eventually puncture a pimple, you run the risk of introducing the bacteria from your fingers and nails, forcing all that nasty stuff deep into the zit. This is what typically causes even more inflammation and infection, which in turn results in permanent scarring. Still, the bad news for pimple poppers doesn't end there, because we're about to enter the danger triangle, otherwise exaggeratedly referred to as the pimple death triangle. You know, the little cousin of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, it might sound like a confusingly quirky military strategy or some war-torn battleground overseas, but it's really not. The term danger triangle got its name from the triangular region on your face where you're most vulnerable to potentially life-threatening infections. The danger triangle traces the area from between your eyebrows to the corners of your mouth. Smack dab on the center of the triangle, just underneath the skin surface, is the cavernous sinus. Contained within it is a network of nerves and blood vessels that transports the blood to and from the brain. Now, the danger triangle doesn't directly correlate to the popping of pimples per se, but rather to the probable infection that might result from it. Because puncturing a zit is basically the same with any wound, cut, or nick, in that it opens the skin and leaves it vulnerable to bacteria causing infection. Any infection on the surface of the skin could potentially ooze into the nerves and blood vessels, and because these networks of nerves and blood vessels are in such close proximity with the brain, the bacteria that thrive on a patch of broken skin can easily gain access to the rest of your body. Now, if you don't want to listen to me, here's what Dr. Oz has to say. You pick in that area, that triangle of death, you have a risk of that infection transcending the skin and going up to your brain. Now, surface infections that remain untreated for some time could potentially infect the sinuses, which could in turn result in more serious medical conditions such as paralysis and loss of vision, among others. And because blood vessels in this region of the face drains back to the brain, it becomes possible for untreated infections to cause meningitis or cavernous sinus thrombosis, a blood clot anomaly that causes strokes. But hey, you know what? Not all is lost, because I'm going to show you how to pop pimples right. Now, here's some good news. There is a proper way of popping pimples. Professional pimple extractions are usually carried out by dermatologists, and they really know how to go about the procedure in the safest way possible. They wear gloves to ensure that any exposure to bacteria is kept to a bare minimum, and they remove pimples with a sterile needle and then extract the contents using an extractor. Such professional operation is an ideal solution to any pimple problem other than waiting for it to heal on its own, which is what most experts would recommend. Because if you leave it alone, a non-cystic zit takes less than a week to heal on its own. But let's face it, it's difficult for people to break a long enduring habit. As such, I'm going to show you how to pop that zit while minimizing the risk of infection. And yeah, I'm not going to actually show you, I'm just going to tell you, here are the steps to do it. First of all, like most things, remember that timing is everything. Make sure that you don't poke too early. Only extract if the blemish is ready for extraction. As a general rule of thumb, it's always a good idea to wait until the pimple grows a firm white head. This usually means that the pus is ripe enough. It's close to the surface and ready to be squeezed out. How's that for a mental picture? Next, before you start popping anything, always make sure that your hands are clean. It's best if you wash your hands with warm water and soap. Take extra precaution by cutting your fingernails short. Number 3, sterilize everything. It's best if you can get your hands on a surgical lancet needle, but if you're going to use a pin to create the puncture wound, it is a good idea to first sterilize it with fire. So grab a match or a lighter and do so, but make sure you let that thing cool down before you stab yourself. And after you're done with that, wipe it down with rubbing alcohol to sterilize it for a second time just to be sure. Number 4, before you start with the extraction, it's best to cleanse and soften the skin on your face by steaming it with a warm washcloth. Dab the pimpled area of your face with rubbing alcohol, and with sturdy hands, hold the pen parallel to the white tip of the zit zit and gently puncture the head. Next, extract surgically and with great precision. First, pour rubbing alcohol on your hands for good measure. Now, using your fingers or a pair of cotton swab, gently squeeze around the white tip of the pimple head. If the pus doesn't ooze readily, then that means the zit is clearly not ready for extraction. So give it some time. And it's best if you just walk away, because if you continue to extract a zit that's not mature enough, then you might leave a scar on your face. Next, whether or not you were able to successfully extract the zit, it is a good idea to dab a small amount of alcohol to the area you just operated on. Now, much like any other unwanted anomaly in the human body, the best way to deal with pimples is, well, to prevent its development entirely long before it starts. At present, it is not entirely clear why some people are more vulnerable to acne than others. While the exact cause of acne breakouts have yet to be identified, modern medicine understands enough to know that several biological factors such as hormones and genetics play a major role in its development. What we know for now is that the development in these types of skin lesions is primarily connected to a number of factors, which most significantly include oil production, dead skin cells, clogged pores, and the unwanted spread of bacteria. So basically, if you don't want pimples, wash your face. Now, while the danger triangle, or in some cases triangle of death, sounds awfully morbid, and while the consequences do warrant serious caution, there is very little need to be paranoid about the whole pimple popping fiasco, because the risk of life-threatening levels of infection is rather rare. That's because at this day and age in modern medicine, antibiotics are rather quick in neutralizing these types of infections. If anything, the main reason to avoid popping a zit is to avoid the rather nasty scarring that usually follows. And if a pimple swells big enough to cause serious problems, then your best bet would be to actually go see a doctor. So there you go, guys. Those are some information about the triangle of death and the whole pimple popping thing. Hopefully you found that helpful. Also, let me know what it is about pimple popping videos that people like to watch. I personally, I can't watch that, but tell me what the appeal is. I really have no idea. Again, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.